welcome to this week's video. This is another video gig diary where I'm going to try and give you an idea of what it's like to be a musician working in the UK. And coming up in this week's video, how to deal with drunk people on a gig.
I don't know that one.
And dealing with drunk people on a gig.
Don't grab the mic, that's annoying.
And how to deal with drunk people on an awful gig.
Oi, I'm going to take a break now, thank you.
But before we get on to that awful gig, let's go on to something more pleasant. Now, I mentioned last week that I've got a new album coming out on October the 28th. Now, here it is on CD. Now, I'm going to put a link in the description. I'm going to create a page on my website where you can get hold of this, and I'm going to bundle it up with one of my other CDs as well, if you wanted that, with some exclusive downloads as well to go with that. And I think I mentioned this last week as well, but I'm in the latest copy of Maverick magazine. This is the biggest international country music magazine, and there's a 2-page article about me. Oh, I can't find it. You'd have thought I'd instantly turn to it. There we are. So check that out, and then go and check out if you'd like a CD. If not, there will also be a link for a digital download as well, if you'd rather that. Also this week I received my new cover for my Milkman amp. Now I want to show you this because this is rather nice. I'm very pleased with it. I ordered it from a company called Rock Solid, who I've ordered stuff from before. I shall come on to that in a minute. So this is the cover, and what you do is you send the specs and all the measurements for it on the website. It's all kind of just fill in a form on the website, and they send you this, and it's beautifully made, and it, as you can see, it fits like a glove. And if it didn't fit like a glove, it would have been my fault for not sending the correct dimensions, but it's marvellous. And they also sent this rather nice little wallet thing as a sort of bonus, which is really nice, and a pick. Where's the pick? Sent me a pick with Rock Solid written on. But what I want to show you is this isn't the first cover that I've ordered from there. I've ordered a few things, but I want to show you this one. My car amp. This, I've had this cover, I reckon I've done, I can't really tell, maybe 1,000, 1,500 gigs with this. And as you can see, the cover hasn't come unstitched anywhere. Now there's a few scuffs and stuff on here, which is the whole point of it, but none of it's come unstitched. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm so pleased with this. So I wrote to let them know, and they asked if they could use the photos of it on their website, so I'd just like to do a little video to say as well. So check them out. It's Rock Solid, which is ROQSOLID. Search for them and get yourself a brilliant cover. So moving on to the first gig that I'm going to show you. You've probably seen in my videos recently that I've got myself a new amplifier, a Milkman Pedal Steel Mini. And so far I've only played my Fender guitars through it. I didn't want to change everything in one go, so I played my familiar guitars with my normal pedal board and occasionally my quad cortex through the Milkman, replacing my car, which is under this cover here, which has been my main gigging amp for a long time. Not that I've replaced it, but obviously I'm using the new one because it's a bit of a novelty. So up to now I hadn't played my 335 through it. There it is. I'm still less familiar with the 335, haven't played a Fender for many years, but I plucked up the courage and I took it along to my regular gig at the Black Line, which I've shown lots of times, and I was really very pleased with the sound of it. So here's a solo. The beginning of it is quite a clean sound. I don't think I had any of my pedals on. And then when it got to the middle section I hit one of my boosts, and I still hadn't had a chance to sort of tweak it, so there's a bit more boost than I probably would have liked ideally, and I dialed it down through the gig. But this was kind of the very first thing I ever played with that guitar through that amp. So check this out. Here's a couple of solos. after that I was getting a bit more confident with it, so I started mucking around with some delay. So here's another solo with a bit of delay shenanigans going on at the beginning. Finally, I'm going to show you this. This is a note for note solo. I don't do this very often, but this is all right now. I've shown this before, but this was something I discovered having played the All Right Now solo for about 30 years, nearly exclusively on Fender style guitars. When I finally got myself a Gibson, which I haven't had all that long, I discovered that doing it on the shorter scale length totally made sense. Doing the vibrato and everything, it suddenly fitted under the fitted. It suddenly fit under the fingers and felt really right. So I'm going to put this on here anyway, just to show that I can learn a solo note for note. To this next gig, this awful gig. This has never happened to me before, but I didn't finish the gig. I packed up and went home before the end. Now, I'm not going to mention the venue, as it wasn't the venue's fault and they were very good about it, but they had a wake in there and they'd been in there since 3 p.m. and a certain element of the crowd had been drinking rather heavily, and they were okay when I turned up and started playing. They'd already had a singer that they'd booked. So I wasn't booked by the wake, I was booked by the pub where I play quite often. And anyway, I started playing and they were a bit rowdy and we were having a bit of a laugh and they were quite pleasant, but then things started to turn a bit strange. Now, the first problem was the guy he was actually very friendly, he wasn't aggressive at all, but I think the alcohol slightly affected his perception of personal space, etc. And his breath was removing the varnish from my guitar. And he wouldn't leave me alone, kept asking me to sing songs that I didn't know. So I'm just going to show you a bit of that. I'm blurring his face so you can't see who it is.
Are you dancing here?
Don't let me sing over the
No, I won't.
phone.
No, that's fine, thank you.
I think I've come to the party late. What is your job?
I've only just started. What do you want? What do you want to hear?
Do you know any Irish ballads?
No, I don't. I do know what I know.
So that was fine. He eventually left me alone, and then this woman came up and she wanted me to sing, I think it was the Sweat song or something, and I did play a little bit of it for her, which was probably a mistake, because as I was playing it she tried grabbing my microphone off me and she kept doing it, which was extremely irritating. I've never ever had this happen before. So here we go, let me show you this.
Don't grab the mic, that's annoying. Yes, that's rude and annoying. Don't do that. I'm not doing that one now. No, you've upset me. I'm not doing that. No, don't grab the mic. No.
You sing.
Cheers.
He does know the words. Do you know the words?
No, I don't know it.
Type it in on your machine.
What do you want? What do you want?
Come on.
Then there was another woman, an older woman, sat just to my left, and she seemed to think that I was maybe playing all the songs through a machine rather than playing on my guitar, because she started asking me, have you got My Girl on that? And I'm like, what do you mean on that? So eventually, do you do My Girl? I said, oh yes, I can play it. Well, can I sing it? And I probably made a mistake and I let her sing it. So I'm going to show you this clip. You can tell that she clearly wasn't a singer. But anyway, I let her do it, so here we go.
Yeah,
Have you got My Girl on there?
I can do my girl.
Can I sing it?
Go on then.
If you can put it on there,
Well, I'm not putting it on, I'm playing it. I'm not, it's
you
not
play
backing
it
track.
and I'll sing it.
Alright.
I'll take it off.
We've got a guest singer. What's your name? What's your name? Joanne is going to sing for you.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day.
You may have heard her there going, is this on? Is this on? Wondering if I'd actually turn the microphone on, which unfortunately I had. So I'm still trying to have a bit of a laugh at them to keep things calm, and the mic grabber and the space invader then started simulating some rather lewd acts over one side of the bar, so I made a bit of a comment about it. And then she came up and grabbed the mic again, and I'd had enough by this point, so I said, right, that's it, I'm going to stop. And if you'll hear as well on this clip, the woman who I just let sing told me that she just wanted me to effing get on with it, which I thought was very pleasant.
It's like watching a David Attenborough programme. Oi, no. I'm going to take a break now, thank you.
Will you please
Don't think we are more, man.
please?
No, because she keeps grabbing the mic. I'm not having it.
Please do it.
So just after I turned the camera off, the mic grabbing woman finally grabbed my mic. I had my back turned as she took the mic off the stand, she ripped the cable out of it and started wandering around the pub pretending to sing through it. At which point I went up to her and said, can I have my microphone back please? And I took it back off her. And then some guy who I think might have been her boyfriend went for me, saying that I was being miserable and ruining it by not letting her use my microphone. Some of the other people there were having to hold him back to stop him having a go at me. It was absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, I then spoke to the manageress there, who was very nice, and she said, if you don't feel comfortable you can go. So I discreetly packed up and disappeared. Now that is the first time that's ever happened to me in all my many years of gigging, and it was very unpleasant and I was very shaken up by the whole thing, but I wanted to document it on here because I often put all the nice parts about gigging, but this was extremely unpleasant, so there we are, I've done that. Anyway, let's move on to something more pleasant now. Now, this last bit isn't a gig, it's actually a rehearsal. It's for a gig that I'm going to be doing at the end of this week, and I shall probably show on next week's video. But we had to drive up to London with Ralph, who you've seen many times in my videos. He also plays in my band doing my own material, but I do lots of cover gigs with him as well. And we had to drive up to London on Monday morning. Now, unfortunately, it was the day that the eco-protesters decided to climb up the QE2 bridge, which is the big bridge that crosses the River Thames, and shut the entire road, causing 2-hour delays. And that was exactly the way we had to go. So I put Waze on my phone, and that took us through London, and it took us, and if you don't know about this, this is very strange, that the furthest out crossing of the River Thames until you get to that big bridge that was shut is actually a ferry. Now, I've never ever been on it because I always thought to myself, well, that's got to be a recipe for getting stuck in a big traffic jam for a long time. But I believed Waze on my phone and followed it, and we got to the ferry bridge. It's called the Woolwich Ferry. We got there and we only had to wait about 20 minutes to get onto it, and it was very exciting. So I'm going to show you a bit of footage here that Ralph and I, it's not very rock and roll, but we were extremely excited about going on this ferry. It was, you can hear us being very nerdy about it and wondering how it's all working. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of that clip of our journey on the ferry first. We're going over the Woolwich Ferry, which we've never Oh no, you have. You've done it 30 years ago.
A long time ago. It's horse drawn in those days.
Swimming horses. And we've never done it before. This is very because the eco warriors have glued themselves to the M25.
I have.
So we can't go that way. So let me turn this round. This is the Woolwich ferry here.
Hurrah, look at them all coming on.
Very, very exciting, but
Yes.
we should almost arrive on time. We're going to film some when we are actually going over.
We are.
Well, you better, because I'm driving.
I will film it, Tom. Don't worry.
Okay.
Please listen carefully to the following announcement. In the unlikely event of an emergency requiring evacuation.
Well, I'm assuming that one has to be moving at the same.
The other one's not going anywhere quickly, is it?
What do you think of it so far?
Wonderful. This is quite wonderful.
There's the Thames flood barrier with two of its, what they called?
Bascules.
Bascules up. Oh, look.
Some of those windows up there appear to be boarded up.
Oh,
No, I think it's housing.
that's the machinery, isn't it?
I doubt there's much luxury up there. And that was probably once a lookout thing.
Look out! Oh, look, there we go.
Are we going up or is it coming down?
And finally, when we got to the rehearsal, I'm going to leave you with this clip. The reason is because I managed to, because it wasn't on a gig, I set the camera up right in front of the amplifier and you can really clearly hear the Milkman amp. And I'm not really using any, I'm not using the pedal board particularly. I did have it plugged in, but I don't think I was using anything on it, just with my Tyler Strat. So you can really hear clearly what the amp actually sounds like. And if you listen, you can hear it kind of, there's a bit of compression on the front end on the transient, which you'd get from a compressor pedal, but that's the way it kind of works. It's not like a Fender amp where you get that sag. It's got, it's just got a different response, which is nice, and it's a nice change. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm bringing out new videos every week. I have them uploading at 7 PM UK time every Friday. So hopefully I'll see you next week.
Thank you.